I say either give it back or shut the fuck up. AOC says so many people in this country hate women. Oh, geez. Even the guy at the party who pulls out a guitar is like, way to ruin the fun. Congressman Jamal Bowman says capitalism is slavery by another name. No, it's not. It's the thing that has given more people more prosperity and hope than any other system, flawed though it surely is. Say something about America that you like, because honestly, I don't know why the people who are fighting for this country so hard even want it anymore.
Bill Maher has absolutely torched AOC for her blatant double standards, and it is staggering. The outspoken comedian went straight for the jugular, calling out the Democratic Party's golden girl for trashing America when Republicans are in charge. To her, America suddenly becomes the worst country on earth beyond comparison. But Ma ripped through that hypocrisy and put her words on full display. So, if you crave spicy political commentary, smash that subscribe button and let's dive right in.
A more pertinent question to ask about the word woke might be, why in such a short time has it gone from a rallying cry to a pejorative? If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke, because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome. That said,
one Ma doesn't hold back as he takes aim at AOC's past embrace of woke politics, framing it as a rebranded form of liberalism that has lost its appeal. He argues that the sudden distancing from the label isn't accidental, it's strategic. According to Ma, figures like AOC are stepping away from the term because it no longer resonates the way it once did with the broader public. Not long ago, she was seen at protests and rallies openly leaning into the language and symbolism of the woke movement, wearing it almost like a badge of honor. Now that same label seems to have become politically inconvenient. Maher suggests this shift isn't about a change in beliefs, but about optics, adjusting the messaging to match the mood of voters. In his view, it raises a bigger question about authenticity and whether the rebranding reflects genuine evolution or simply a calculated move to stay politically relevant.
That said, I would love to have AOC on this show. There's so much to admire there. I was one of her first supporters for the Green New Deal idea. But that will probably never happen because Democrats don't go anywhere these days where they're not pre-adored. And that's my last bit of advice to them. Go where the amen corner isn't. Do Fox News. Be brave. Come here. Go everywhere. Winning is about expanding the election.
Ma has openly challenged AOC to come on his show. But let's be honest, she's unlikely to take that invitation. Why? Because Maher doesn't play softball. He asks direct, uncomfortable questions that push guests out of their carefully managed talking points. And we've seen what happens when AOC steps outside her comfort zone. Remember when she traveled abroad for a conference and faced questions she wasn't fully prepared for? The moment quickly turned awkward, and it highlighted how different things can get without a friendly audience or familiar script. That's exactly why critics say she tends to avoid media platforms that aren't aligned with her views. It's not just about messaging, it's about control. On a show like Maher's, there's no guarantee of that control, and the risk of being challenged in real time is much higher. That's a stage where narratives can unravel quickly under pressure.
And finally, new rule, you don't really love America if you hate half the people in it. And also, if you hate a lot of the things that everybody always loved about it. There's an oft-repeated moment in political debates where the moderator says to the two candidates, say something nice about your opponent.
Can can you say one nice thing, something that you admire about your opponent?
Say something nice about Representative Deal.
Tell us something that you admire about your opponent.
Can you say something nice about your opponent?
It's always so awkward because the candidates just spent an hour describing how America would be an out-of-control dumpster fire if the other guy won the election.
March 3rd zeroes in on what he sees as the real reason figures like AOC seem to resent America. It's not the country itself, but the people in it, or at least half of them. He argues that when your political opponents are in power, suddenly everything about the nation becomes irredeemable in their eyes. According to Ma, AOC and others in her camp don't offer much in the way of balanced criticism or constructive ideas. Instead, their messaging often turns into nonstop outrage because their side isn't calling the shots. He frames it as a pattern of reflexive opposition where every action taken by the current administration is met with immediate backlash regardless of context or outcome. Maher suggests this constant state of alarm isn't about policy anymore. It's about politics driving perception, and perception shaping a narrative that paints America in the worst possible light.
Okay, I say the next time we have debates, the moderator needs to frame that question a little differently, as say something about America that you like, because honestly, I don't know why the people who are fighting for this country so hard even want it anymore. Republicans, I'll start with you. I really want to know. That is what's so odd about this time that we're living in. For all the talk about fighting for the soul of America, nobody seems to like it very much. Too many liberals give the impression that to them, America's just a big, ugh. The red, white, and ew.
Maher's right. Many liberals like AOC don't see America now the way they saw it under Biden. To them, Trump is leading the country down the highway to hell. They don't recognize their country anymore because their favorite isn't in power. They point to past issues like inflation spikes, border surges, rising crime concerns, and foreign policy stumbles under Biden. Yet overlook improvements supporters credit to Trump, such as stronger economic signals, tighter border enforcement, energy independence efforts, and assertive global posturing. Still, many rely more on emotion than consistent metrics, judging outcomes based on who holds office rather than measurable results. That disconnect fuels a cycle where perception overrides reality, and every development is filtered through partisan lenses, reinforcing beliefs instead of challenging them with evidence or broader context. This mindset makes compromise impossible, deepening division and turning political debate into a constant battle of narratives rather than a search for truth.
A country that started out bad and will always be bad, founded on an unrelenting history of sucking and unable to change. But we have changed a lot. Democrat Cori Bush tweeted, "This land is stolen land and black people still aren't free." And this was on the 4th of July. Really? Not that I give a shit about the 4th of July. I've never been a rah-rah guy. But I am a perspective guy. And that's what too much of the left has lost, perspective.
5 Mars is right to argue that parts of the left have lost perspective. In many cases, they struggle to acknowledge progress when it happens, especially if it doesn't align with their political preferences or narrative. Criticism in this sense becomes more than just analysis. It turns into a source of validation, a way to reinforce identity and signal moral high ground. The problem is that when outrage becomes habitual, it starts to overshadow objectivity. There's always something to be upset about, always a new issue framed as proof that everything is falling apart. Over time, this creates a cycle where progress is dismissed, nuance is ignored, and every development is filtered through a lens of
72% of black people under 30 are optimistic about their future in America. Way more than white people the same age. And as far as the land goes, yes, I guess we could change the name of Captain America to Captain Stolen Land. But honestly, to all the people who start every public event now with one of those land acknowledgements where they say, "I'm standing on land that was stolen from the proud indigenous people of the Chumash tribe," I say either give it back or shut the fuck up.
SMA pushes back on claims that Black Americans are still trapped in hopelessness in modern America, arguing that this view overlooks broader progress. While challenges certainly remain, it's undeniable that there has been significant progress since the dark and turbulent days of the 1960s and 1970s. Opportunities in education, business, politics, and culture have expanded in ways that were once unimaginable, and many Black Americans today express optimism about the future. That broader story of resilience and advancement, however, often gets overshadowed. Critics argue that some on the left are less inclined to highlight this progress, choosing instead to focus almost exclusively on struggle and grievance. The concern is that a one-sided narrative can keep people locked into a mindset of frustration rather than empowerment. When the conversation ignores progress, it risks distorting reality and overlooking the very gains that could inspire further growth, unity, and forward momentum.
AOC says so many people in this country hate women. Oh, geez. Even the guy at the party who pulls out a guitar is like, way to ruin the fun. Congressman Jamal Bowman says capitalism is slavery by another name. No, it's not. It's the thing that has given more people more prosperity and hope than any other system, flawed though it surely is.
We've spoken before about the downsides of socialism, so there's no need to rehash every argument. But it's striking how often some Democrats still present it as a superior alternative to capitalism. The reality is more complicated. Countries often cited as socialists, like Venezuela, Cuba, and North Korea, have struggled with economic instability, shortages, and limited growth. Though each case also involves factors like sanctions, governance issues, and global isolation. That said, the bigger question remains. If a system consistently produces hardship in practice, why is it still promoted as the answer? At the same time, it's worth noting that no modern economy is purely socialist or purely capitalist. Most operate as hybrids, blending market forces with government intervention. So, the debate shouldn't just be slogans versus slogans. It should be about outcomes, evidence, and what actually improves people's lives, not just what sounds good in theory or rallies political support.
But again, something like the free market is kind of synonymous with America. And if you don't like it, I don't know how you can say you love this country. You know who loves this country? You know who's not constantly complaining about what happened 200 years ago and who's not obsessed with seeing America through shit-colored glasses and shaking off the stench of what irredeemable privileged assholes we are? Immigrants.
Yes, Mars, right? People across the world would give an arm and a leg for the chance to come to this country. They see opportunity, stability, and a real shot at building something better for themselves and their families. They value the systems in place, the availability of jobs, the freedom to pursue ambition, and the possibility of turning effort into success. For many immigrants, that promise isn't theoretical. It's something they actively chase, often at great personal risk. Yet critics argue that some on the left seem reluctant to acknowledge just how much opportunity exists here. Instead of recognizing the advantages, the focus often stays locked on flaws and shortcomings. Of course, no country is perfect, and criticism has its place. But when it becomes constant and one-sided, it can drown out the bigger picture. Mars's point lands. Perspective matters, especially when so many still see America as a place worth striving for.
Ask any of them why they came here, and they will tell you the same thing. Ron DeSantis put me on a plane. But they will also tell you that America, for all that's so shitty about it right now, is still the last best hope. And those people asking for our votes to take it over should remember.
NOC and her allies are pushing hard to reshape the direction of this country. Yet, according to their own rhetoric, it's a place deeply flawed, even irredeemable at times. That contradiction is exactly what MR zeroes in on. If America is as broken as they claim, why the relentless drive to control its future? Ma raises a pointed question. How do you seek to lead a nation when you openly express disdain for a large portion of its people? It creates a tension that's hard to ignore. Leadership, after all, requires persuasion, unity, and at least some level of respect for those you represent. When political messaging leans heavily on division, it risks alienating the very citizens whose trust is essential to govern effectively. Maher's critique cuts through the noise, challenging whether this approach is about genuine reform or simply power pursued without reconciling the contradictions in the message itself. And on this note, we draw the curtains on today's video. If you enjoyed it, then hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next.